like no gunshots, but they getting low, low, low.
What is up, YouTube? Toxin Sam here. There was just a weird difficulty with the camera. Anyway, this here is something I'm pretty excited about. This is Zing deck profile for 2016. Um, Zing's is like my favorite deck ever, and a lot of people who know me personally will probably be like, "Why hasn't this been done sooner on the channel?" It's because I wanted to make sure the deck was fully complete before I did this. And so here it is. We're gonna get into it right now. We're gonna start with monsters. Um, 3 Bishki, Water of the Yangzing, favorite monster in the main deck. It makes your monsters immune to traps. When you synchro, it makes your synchro monsters immune to traps. If you know how Yangzings work, basically, when you synchro with the Yangzings, they give the synchro monster different buffs. The buff that Bishki gives it is trap immunity, which is all traps, including your own, not just your opponent's. What this card is so good for is because it allows you to play, well, allows me to play with like no fear at all. I'm like, once I go into that, that big monster, that Yazi, I just don't have to fear anything because I know Yazi cannot be targeted. I know he's a buff monster. I know it's really hard to get over him. I can make it first turn trap immunity. It's just a really good monster. And Bishki is just so good. And this is why it's my favorite monster in the main deck because of those immunities. Next, we're going to get into your main beater of the main deck, Suwani, Fire of the Yangzing, level 4. Basically, the buff he gives your synchro monsters is when you synchro someone with him, they gain 500 attack. Not the best buff, but he is a nice beat stick for the main deck, and I love him for that reason. Next, we have 3 Beyond Earth of the Yangzing. The buff that he gives your synchros is they cannot be destroyed by battle. 1600, part of the main deck. Nice, little attack. Just such a good card. That's for the main monsters. Next, I'm going to go ahead and get into that's most of the main monsters. I'll go ahead and get to the one-ofs when it comes to main monsters in the main deck. 1 Tauti, Shadow of the Yangzing. The buff he gives isn't too amazing. I mean, it only says your opponent cannot take control of your monster. So things like mind control, enemy controller, silent honor, those kind of things don't work. But it's not the most relevant buff. But he is level 5. He is a 2200 beat stick. He can help you make things faster, like level 9s, for instance, like Chao Fang or Trishula. And so that's pretty what he's good for. And I run 1 Pulau, Wind of the Yangzing, level 1. The buff he gives is they are immune to spells. So things like Dark Hole, Raigeki, Pendulum effects. You don't have to worry about your synchros being hurt by that. It's raining where I live, so hopefully the rain and wind doesn't disturb the video. Anyway, next we're going to get into the tuners of the main deck. 3 Jiaotou Darkness. I almost said Shadow. 3 Jiaotou Darkness of the Yangzing. This guy is the best tuner in the deck. He's like the best card in the deck, really. He's the playmaker. His effect is if he's the only monster you control, you can drop 2 Yangzing cards. They don't have to be monsters. You can drop 2 Yangzing cards to the graveyard. Special summon 1 with 0 defense and 1 with 0 attack. All the Yangzings in the main deck are sort of like that. They have 0 attack and 0. Some have 0 attack, some have 0 defense. And they special summon in those orders. Basically, you special summon one, and they can help you make a lot of first turn synchros, first turn Boxia, first turn Yazi, first turn Trishula, first turn Chao Fang, depending on how you want to go into it. So, it's a really good card to make. It's a really good card to have. Best tuner in the deck by far. Next, I play 2 Chi Wen, Light of the Yangzing. Another really good tuner. Basically, when he is in the graveyard, and yep, there's the win. If he's in the graveyard and a Yangzing would be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can special summon him from the graveyard. So that can make for really good plays because what the Yangzings have that's really unique is that they can synchro on their opponent's turn. So essentially, you can float your Chi-Wen back from the graveyard. A Yangzing was destroyed. You can special summon off that Yangzing. You might have something like a creation on board. Get an extra float off the creation, and then you can just synchro on your opponent's turn because you have your tuner back from the graveyard. It's such a good card. And last but not least, Mask Chameleon. He's a tuner, really good for this deck. He can make level 8s and level 7 synchros really fast because you can just normal summon him. And then he targets a monster in your graveyard with 0 defense and special summons it in a defense position. So essentially, what that can do, you can target your Suwani, you can target your Beyond, you can target your, I believe you can target your Talti as well, and you can just make for some fast synchro plays. All right, so that's it for main deck monsters. Next, we're gonna go ahead and get into I'll go ahead and do main deck spells. So for the main deck spells, um, I kind of cut down on some of the spells. I think I don't have three of any spell, but for the main deck spells we have two. Whoa, man, I was off camera. Two mystical space typhoons. Um, Twin Twisters out. I have Twin Twisters. I don't personally like it for this deck. I don't know. I just don't really like Twin Twisters. I haven't felt the need to play Twin Twister yet because I can just make things trap immune. So if there is a trap that I have to be afraid of, then I can just Twin Twister it, and then for like the pendulum matchup, I have my other ways of dealing with that. Twin Twister, yeah, Twin Twister will be good for the pendulum matchup, but there's other things in the deck that I can do to help myself in the pendulum matchup. Next, we have two Dark Hole because this deck, Destruction doesn't kill this deck too much unless you make them miss timing. But because the whole deck is floaters, you can just drop a Dark Hole when your opponent has a board that you don't like, and you'll just float some monsters back, go into a big synchro, and just do some big damage. So Dark Hole is really good in this deck because it doesn't hurt you too much because you can always come back from it, assuming you haven't been wasting too many resources. Dark Hole shouldn't be too bad in this deck. Pot of Duality. Pot of Duality is basically it's just a really good card because it lets you get three cards deeper. Say you get like a brick hand, you can Pot of Duality, see what you're gonna get. You excavate the top three cards, choose one, shuffle the rest back in the deck. Really good card. This conflicts with Mistake and conflicts with Special Summoning because you cannot Special Summon the turn you use this. However, the thing about Yang Zings is they can do so much on their opponent's turn, so I don't necessarily have to be afraid to activate Duality because I can just get that monster that I need, hopefully, summon it past turn, synchro my opponent's main phase or battle phase. So I don't have to be scared to use Pot of Duality, and the only other card this conflicts with is Mistake, which I will get to when I get to traps. So yeah, Pot of Duality. Next, probably the best, one of the best spell cards for any archetype ever, man. This might be biased, but I mean, just look at the game. They keep trying to remake this for everything. Yangzing Path, like if you look at Pot of Riches, that's just a Yangzing Path for pendulums. Yangzing Path, shuffle 3 Yangzing monsters back into the deck and draw from your graveyard back into deck. Draw 2. Such a good card. But yeah, you can it lets you +2 and get some Yangzing monsters back into your deck so that you have more resources. And it's just such a good card. It doesn't have any real downsides except for like the Infernoid matchup where they can make you miss timing with it, but that's only happened to me once. Then there's this Supply Squad. Once per turn, when a monster will be destroyed by battle or card effect, draw one card. Just helps you plus, or not necessarily. Well, yeah, it's a plus because with Yang Zings they're gonna float, so it helps you plus in hand. Really good card because destruction is such a big part of this deck. And last but not least, one of Mind Control. It lets you take one of your opponent's monsters. I like to take my opponent's monsters so I can go ahead and make synchro plays without wasting as many resources. It's also fun to take your opponent's tuners and do things with those so that you can save yours. So yeah, that's it for spells and the main deck. So I'm going to get into traps last but not least in the main deck. Traps. So this is my only 3 of trap. And if you know Yang Zings, you definitely know what this is. Yang Zing Creation. That's my only 3 of trap. Basically, when a monster you control, it doesn't have to be a Yang Zing monster, which is awesome. When a monster you control will be destroyed, you can special summon a Yang Zing from deck. This card is just epic. Like, oh my gosh, you open up more than one of these, your opponent could be in some real shit real fast because it's like, and you can activate it during damage step as well. So it's like your opponent destroys something, cool. Chain Yang Zing Creation, I'm going off. Like, there's 3 cards coming back if I have 2 of those. You have a Chiwin in the grave, they destroy something, you got a creation as well. It can just be really bad news for your opponent. You can just gain so much advantage, go into a big synchro really fast. It's an awesome card. And the wind does not like me today. Next in the deck, I have some breakthrough skills. Basically, you can negate a monster's effects this turn. Monster your opponent controls negate its effects this turn. Really good card. And then when it's in the graveyard, you can on your turn you can banish it and negates effects your opponent has as well. So this really helps in things like the hero matchup, where like your opponent has a Dark Law and you're just like, man, I don't want to deal with that. Breakthrough skill, go off, get over the Dark Law. Fuck heroes. No, don't hate me for that. Okay, I just have really bad things with heroes because Dark Law is a card. Next, the newest addition to the deck, um, Mistake. Neither player can add cards to the hand except by drawing them. This helps you in so many matchups because your opponent cannot search their deck, and Yang Zings don't really need to search their deck at all. All Yang Zings, really need to do is wow, it is windy. All Yang Zings really need to do is get something destroyed and special summon off of it. So you can run Mistake because it shuts out a lot of other matchups, and it's a really good floodgate. Twin Twister exists now, so might have to watch out for Twin Twisters, but Mistake is really good. And MST is still a thing. But yeah. Mistake. Yes. Next, a lot of people say this card is no longer good. And I swear, like, this is a funny little story. People would always tell me, like, when I went to my last regional, I didn't play on the regional, but I picked up people who dropped out, things like that, or people who were just, like, waiting for the next match. People would tell me, Mirror Force is not good in the format anymore. I'm like, oh, man, really? And then they would run into Mirror Force right there, and I would normally take the game. Like, every time someone told me Mirror Force wasn't relevant to the format, they ran into it. It was like some sort of magic. Yeah, 2 Mirror Force. This could probably be something else. A lot of people don't even like Battle Traps this format. I still love them. So yeah, Mirror Force. Oh, this card, I love this. Grand Horn of Heaven. This is a common. What were they thinking? Oh my god, this is a common. I love it. This is so good against inherent summons, including pendulum summons. Because if your opponent tries to pendulum summon and they overextend and you activate this, not only do you negate the summon and send all the pendulums to the graveyard, but then it ends the main phase that they're in, which can just be so devastating to any type of inherent summon. So Grand Horn of Heaven is just such an amazing card. And then last but not least, one of Skill Drain, Dual Terminal. How you feel, bruh? Oh my god, I love Skill Drain. Basically, all your effects resolve in the graveyard. So Skill Drain does not harm you that much. And then not only that, you can make your monsters, your synchro monsters, you can make them trap immune, which means traps from your side of the field as well. So by making a trap immune monster, it will be immune to Skill Drain because it's immune to traps. Therefore, you will have effects while your opponent does not. You'll have monster effects while your opponent doesn't. And it's just so freaking awesome. I'm probably going to try to lock it. Alright, we're back with the extra deck. So, Yang Zing's is a synchro deck. Arguably the best synchro deck, period. I wouldn't even argue. I just straight up tell you it's the best synchro deck, period. Gives a fuck what anybody say. Anyway, let's get into this extra deck right here. I'm going to start with the archetype extra deck first. This is like the best card. This is one of my favorite cards. Yazi, Evil of the Yang Zing. Basically, his effect is he cannot be targeted by your opponent's card effects. That in itself is awesome. His second effect, you can target one Yang Zing monster you control and one card your opponent controls. Destroy them. That just generates so much advantage for you while messing up your opponent. You can pop that Solemn if you think it's set, that Blackhorn. You can pop a monster that's giving you trouble. You can get over so many things with this, and I just love this card. And so yeah, that's why it's amazing. And then keep in mind that the Yang Zings are going to give it some sort of buff. So a lot of times I'll have it immune to traps, and it'll be immune to battle, or it'll gain 500, and it'll just be super buff and super hard to clear unless they have like some sort of Dark Hole or Raigeki. But for the most time, when I get a Yazi, it stays on board for about 4 turns, or it stays on board and it's game. I normally win when I have Yazi. Alright, next is Boxia. Oh, and Yazi is level 7. And then Boxia, Brightness of the Yang Zing, your level 8 synchro. When it is synchro summoned, you can target cards on the field up to the number of different Yang Zing, or is it Worm? Is one like up to the different number of either Yang Zing or Worm attributes used for the summon. Because the Yang Zings are all different elements or attributes, Basically, on average, you will spin 3 cards back to the deck, which is just so awesome to be able to shuffle cards back into the deck. And it'll normally be trap immune. The way I like to make it, it's normally trap immune. So yeah, to be able to spin a card back to the deck is just freaking awesome though. And then last but not least, this card can be so grimy if you get it out in certain matchups. Chao Fang, Phantom of the Yang Zing. What this card does is based on what attributes you, whatever worm type attributes you use to summon him, um, your opponent cannot activate monster effects of those attributes. So if I go into, this used to be my killer in the Necros matchup. If I go into Chao Fang using Bishki, the water of the Yang Zing, basically water monster effects cannot be activated, and this would just slay people. And then like in the Burning Abyss matchup, going into this with like a Jiaotou or a Tauti, which is I normally do, those are dark monsters, which essentially means your opponent can't use dark monster effects. It's so disgusting, and I love it. So yeah, that is Chao Fang. As OP as it might sound though, it's not too hard to get over because the buffs that it gets are normally going to be specific to the matchup you're in. So for instance, if you're going against a like something like Infernoids, you probably make it with a fire monster, assuming you got time to make it, and then one of its buffs would probably be that it's gains 500, but it probably wouldn't have something like say trap immunity. So, well, not that Infernos will be running traps, but that's just an example. All right, next, this card. I'm gonna try to go by order, even though I'm excited for the top card. Anyway, Herald of the Arclight. There is a nasty ass thing you can do with this card and Baxia. Oh, my mistake. Let me go into this. So Baxia's second effect is you can pop a level 4 monster on your side of the field to target one level 4 lower monster in your graveyard. Special summon it. Um, Essentially, what you can do with Herald of the Arclight, its effect is when your opponent will activate an effect, monster, spell, or trap, you tribute it, negate the activation, destroy it. So essentially, with Baxia and Herald, there's a loop. What you can do is negate the activation of something, get a monster, pop your monster, target Herald, bring back Herald, float off your monster, make another synchro, and just do big damage. And you constantly have Herald of the Arclight on board to negate. So the Herald Baxia combo is disgusting, and I love it. So yeah, Herald of the Arclight. A really nasty thing you can do is use Chi Wen, who is your level 1 tuner, and Beyond, who is your level 3 Earth. Special summon this in defense. It can't be destroyed by battle, and so it's just a freaking wall. And if your opponent wants to activate a card effect to get over it, you can just go ahead and like tribute, negate it, and they lose that card. And it can just be really painful for your opponent, especially if their way over it, if their outs over it was a monster. I normally go into that when I don't have any other monsters, or if I just need to stall for time. Next, we're gonna go ahead and get into this is the newest addition to my extra deck actually. High Speed Roy Chanbara. I don't know how to pronounce that. Essentially, what this card does, I actually just got it. This card can make a second attack during each battle phase. At the start of the damage step, if this card battles, it gains 200 attack. If this card is sent to the graveyard, you can target one of your. Yeah, that part's not important. But basically, at the start of each damage step, this card gains 200. So if you can keep this card on field long enough, it can like get buff as fuck real fast. So yeah, that's that. Next, Armadi's Keeper of the Boundaries. This card is awesome in the mirror match and just to give yourself some sort of like an ego boost just to play reckless, because basically what he does when he attacks, your opponent cannot respond with any card effects. It's whenever he does battle, so if he attacks or is attacked, and it's really epic. So yeah, when he does battle, your opponent cannot respond with any sort of card effects. Lets you play recklessly. And then let's see what else. So those are level 5s. My only level 6 is Goyo Guardian. When he destroys an opponent's monster by battle, you can special summon it to your side of the field in defense position. It's a nice card to have, and then it can give you synchro fodder because you take your opponent's monsters, which is just really freaking nice. Next, I mostly have level 8s. Stardust Spark Dragon is a really good card because you can target one monster once per turn. It cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects that turn. So it can help you save up your tuners if you're trying to make something. It can help you save your tuners. Or you can just save himself if your opponent gets something. He's 2,500. He's level 8, so I'll normally make him like 3k because I use Suwani normally when I go into level 8s. So that's another really good card. And this card, oh my god, against Pendulums, boy. Let me just show you how beautiful this rarity is, because this is a ghost rare. Scarlight, Red Archfiend, something like that. I honestly think my phone is cursed because every time I show a high rarity card, it goes off. Anyway, Scarlight Red Dragon Archfiend against Pendulums. Let me talk about this real quick. I was so hyped when this came out because I was like, destroy special summon monster your opponent. Oh no, destroy all special summon monsters except itself, and then burn your opponent for 500 for each. Boy, I'm about to be playing this and floating, but no. Because of how Yang Zings are worded, which is really dumb, their biggest weakness probably is that they can miss timing. So because Scarlight burns after the destruction, Yang Zings will miss their timing because the destruction is not the last thing to happen in the chain. That's very technical. What does it mean? It means basically you don't float off your Yang Zings unless you have creation when you use this effect. Anyway, with this card and the pendulum and the oh man, I just had a phone call. With this card and the pendulum matchup, boy, let me tell you about this. Your opponent sets up an established board. You make Scarlight. You activate its effect. Burn them for like 2,500. Attack for like 3,500 because normally I'm gonna make it with Suwani because it's a level 8, and it'll be trap immune. You're towards the end of the game right then and there. This card is so freaking amazing. It makes your Yang Zings miss timing, but because you're normally gonna have special summon monsters on board anyway, you're gonna be burning your opponent for hella damage, assuming you have extra Yang Zings lying around, and it can just make big pushes for games so fast. Like I've ruined pendulum decks with this card, and it's just so awesome. So that's level 8. Next, Trishula, Dragon of the Ice Barrier. When this card is synchro summon, you can select, not target. They don't target, boy. Select monsters on your opponent. One monster on your opponent's field, one in graveyard. It's not a monster, it's a card on your opponent's field, one in grave, and one random card in hand. Banish them. Boy, that is some crazy stuff. But actually, it's not as broken anymore, considering so many things they use the banish nowadays. But it's still a really awesome card. Next in the extra deck, Leo, Keeper of the Sacred Tree. The thing is, he really doesn't have an effect that's that amazing. He's just 3,100, level 10, and can't be targeted by your opponent's card effects. And then, like, I'm probably going to make him trap immune, so he becomes just a big-ass monster that can't be targeted. And it's just really nasty because it's so hard to get over. I've made this thing near invincible at times, and honestly, normally when I go into Leo, I don't go into it often, but it's really hard for me to think of a game where I went into Leo and didn't win. So next we're going to go into the last extra deck card, Star Eater. This is so awesome. This card's effect is your opponent cannot respond to this card's summon. This card's summon cannot be negated. Your opponent cannot respond when this card attacks. It's basically just like God when you get it, because they can't Solemn it, they can't Blackhorn it, they can't activate Torrential on it. It'd probably be trap immune anyway. They can't bottom. There's nothing they can do to stop it from getting on field, and when it attacks, there's nothing they can do. However, it is not the safest card in the deck, and it's a level 11 synchro, which is kind of hard to make. You normally just make it when you can, like when it presents itself. I normally am not trying to make it though, but such a good card, and it's just the whole extra deck for this deck. Honestly, I feel it's just so epic. The synchro toolbox is so underrated, I feel like, and it's just very amazing. If I could have one more synchro, it'd probably be Clearwing synchro, but other than that, the deck is pretty much complete. As I normally say, I'm not going to do side deck because I feel like it's up to personal preference. This case will be an exception. I may do a side deck video. Thanks for watching. Though it's not over yet. Well, assuming I do a side deck video. But anyway, if you liked the video, go ahead and leave a like. If you're not subscribed, go ahead and do that too. Yang Zings for life.